I kept finding that these 10 top traumas kept coming up. And what led me to want to pull this list together was when I suffered a love trauma. I was in a love relationship with someone I really loved and care about. We ended up getting married, and 5 months into the marriage, it's uncovered by his school superintendent that he had a whole secret life, and he was a principal of the school. So not only leaves his job, his reputation, his income, me, it affected my business, our kids, everything. My world just exploded as I knew it. And one of the last comments he said to me is, I don't know why I sabotage everything I love. Because I knew he loved me, but I'm like, I don't get it either. Like, why would he risk this? And then that's when my research began. Like, what does he have? It wasn't anything I learned in my triple masters of applied clinical and counseling psychology. Nothing my 7 therapist friends had heard of either. Nothing diagnosed or defined in the DSM-4 that therapists use to put diagnostic codes on things. It was something different I had not heard of. And for my own healing, I needed the answer to that question. What is it? And that's when I uncovered childhood trauma. I'm thinking of all the kids and the adults I worked with, and all their trauma stories were very similar. And these top 10 traumas kept coming up over and over again. And as I was researching them, I learned trauma goes through at least 3 generations. And most people, 9 out of 10 people, have at least 1 to 3 of the top 10 traumas, if not more. So I found that to be very fascinating. And then I started putting the puzzle pieces together. If they have this, I see a lot of this, like jealousy and control come from these 2 traumas, or love addiction comes from this one. So I just kept putting all these pieces together. And it's like, and then I started treating my clients, my therapy clients, my coaching clients. And I said, this is so amazing. I got to take this out to the world. I got to tell people what this is, why this is causing toxic behavioral patterns and relationships to fall apart, no matter how much you try, or why you may be attracting a toxic partner over and over again, which we call relationship repetition syndrome. So it answered so many of my questions.
So when you looked at that information, Riana, and you looked inward and you said, okay, I'm experiencing love as it's defined by me. I got married, I have the kids, and so on. When you see that have the result that you weren't anticipating, and then you start working with all these different peoples and you start gathering this information, are you at the point where you can pinpoint and say, this type of behavior may be rooted in this childhood experience? And if so, use me as an example. How would you tell me to fix that? Or at very least, how should I address it and hopefully move forward so I don't repeat it in my later life?
Well, last week, I had 2 podcast hosts that wanted to do the top 10 traumas. They wrote them down. They told me what they were, and they said, oh, guess what I went through in my life? And on both, they're like, oh my God, you're like extremely accurate. You're right on. They were really like blown away, and we never talked, just like you and I are just talking for the first time. And it's just because I've done so many cases over and over again, and the patterns are almost textbook. So it's really fascinating how it works. And with any client I would work with, I always have to start with the life and love transformation discovery session, which is they do the childhood trauma checklist plus 4 other assessments. And with the checklist, after I find out which ones they have, then I have to do the severity levels. Like if I had someone say, well, I remember 2 really bad beatings in my life. I hated that because I was close to my dad. So I said, well, how would you rate that on a 1 to 10 scale, with 10 being really severe? And then they're like, well, maybe a 3. And then I'd have someone saying, I got beat every day from my alcoholic father, no matter what I did. Even if I bring an A home, I said one thing wrong, he would beat me that day. How would you rate that? Well, obviously that's a 10, right? So the more traumas and the more severity levels, the more personality toxic behaviors would show up. And my ex had 9 of the traumas with severity levels of 9 and 10. So at that point, when I understood that, I'm like, oh my God, he really suffered. So that brought my compassion and my spirituality back. And I sent him my 400-page book. And he's there, oh my God, put my picture on the cover. I'm the poster child. of this research, and I finally have the answer of what was wrong with me.